here in Tampa.
There's a house key in the parking lot. Sorry. House key with green hood here in the parking lot right there. They'll pick it up there.
Somebody's house key.
Okay, I promise you, we show the movie very soon. But first, we have meetings here every second Wednesday of the month in Sacred Ground. Everyone is very welcome to join our meetings. Come to us. I'm very happy so many people came tonight. You know, this is like the opening for the state meeting of the Green Party of Florida. We are very proud to have it here in Tampa. On that occasion, the most famous person from the Green Party, Stein, came to Tampa to join us tomorrow, and we have the pleasure to hear here tonight. Thank you.
Thanks. I'll just take a minute. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Betty Jo, for that wonderful sharing. And thank you very much to the Tampa Green Party for putting this together and making it happen. Just to hear Betty Jo talking, it's like hearing about an open-air Guantanamo, where people are just being brutalized and their human rights, their legal rights, and their civil rights are really being destroyed. And, as she was saying, there are lots of reasons why we need to care about this. Not only that it's a security threat to us and to who we become as Americans and what the world thinks about us, but it's also, as Martin Luther King says, a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I think the meeting started with Jennifer's comments about, all these things that we could be talking about, and about how the global is really part of the local. And more, they come together. They come together in terms of our human rights, our civil rights and our civil liberties, in the same way that the rights of Palestinians are being destroyed. The rights of Guantanamo inmates have been destroyed. Our rights, as well, are very much at risk. The same indefinite detention that they're subject to in Palestine, in Guantanamo, we now have a law here, the NDAA, exactly, which permits the same thing. We have this authorization for the use of military force. I don't know if people are listening to the discussion, but the Obama administration is basically continuing the eternal, endless, and boundless war on terror that can occur anywhere, anytime, and claiming that this authorization for the use of military force gives us the right to basically go to war anywhere, anytime. The enemy is everywhere, including on our own soil. So, it's like you don't know where to turn. But to my mind, I turn to the Green Party because one person can't do it all. And they want us to play a game of divide and conquer. They want us to choose between Palestinian rights or fighting Monsanto or dealing with the drone. They want us to be fragmented among all these things. And we say no, because these come together. This is fundamentally about people, peace, and the planet, and the democracy that we need. And just a very quick detail, I myself came to the Green Party after fighting as a medical doctor for health care reform, fighting for environmental reform so we could go to the root cause of what I was supposed to be treating in the clinic, give people pills for their medicine and then, or for their cancer, and send them back out to the very things that are causing it.
Right on.
So, I then realized, we got to change policy. So I began working on policy instead of just working in the clinic. Started working on policy, and you do that for 5 or 10 years, and you realize that's a game. It's really, they put you on a treadmill and keep you busy thinking you're doing things. So many of us thought, we'll just get the money out of politics. because it's the money that keeps hijacking our political system and keeps us mired in these very destructive, harmful, violent policies that we're all victimized by. We actually passed campaign finance reform in my home state of Massachusetts through a voter referendum. By a 2-to-1 margin, the people demanded that we get money out of politics. And what happened? Our Democratic Party legislature, 95% Democratic at the time, turned around and repealed this terrible campaign finance reform. They didn't want it, which said to me, okay, we really need to go back to the drawing boards here. As much as we need to get money out of politics as a really fundamental solution, as much as we need to restore human rights, as much as we need labor rights and, living wages, not just minimum wages, as much as we need to end corporate personhood and get personhood back for human beings from whom it's been stolen by the corporations. We need all these things, but to accomplish any of them, we got to work together. We actually have the critical mass to make it happen, and we actually have the solutions that can make it happen, and for the most part, we have public support to bring the troops home, to downsize the military, to label GMOs, and fundamentally get our food system back to a stable footing, to end the threats to our climate, which are absolutely devastating, to create jobs right now, not just bail out Wall Street. We should be bailing out our students and putting an end to student debt. And the great thing is that we not only have a very feasible blueprint for doing all these things, we actually have majority public support, which in some cases, like to be labeling GMOs, which is such an incredible no-brainer, it's 91% support. Right. That's what the American public thinks about labeling our GMOs, and still we can't even get that. So the name of the game is we've got a rotten political system. It's time to stop saying that we don't have political will. We have plenty of political will. What we don't have is a representative democracy. So we need to throw the bums out because at the end of the day, all of these problems are political. Because you can get down on your knees and beg and reason with people till the cows come home, and they're still not going to fix it. It's fundamentally about power. But the big secret is we have the power. We actually have the power. To quote Alice Walker, the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with. We do have it, and people are waking up to that fact. The Green Party is the one vehicle that's out there that has not been compromised by corporate funding. So we want to overcome that game of divide and conquer. To do that, it takes quite a bit of work to get organized when you don't have a lot of money that you can just throw into it. We really have to build community, we have to build communications, we have to build our databases. There's a lot of work to be done. We have to build our policy solutions and so on. The Green Party is the infrastructure for doing that. There were a number of independent, non-corporate parties that were all established about the same time in the early 90s or the late 80s. The Labor Party, the New Party, Peace and Freedom Party, and the Green Party. All of them, except the Green Party, have basically been wiped off the political map because we're living in an extremely repressive political climate right now. Repressive to our political rights as well as our human rights and our legal and our civil rights. So it's incredibly, it's triumphant that we have survived and thrived and we are on the rise. There is a incredible uprising going on right now for democracy and justice across the planet. We see it in the Occupy movement, in the democracy revolutions, in grassroots movements like Move to Amend, like the support for Palestinian human rights, for the rights of the Guantanamo prisoners. There is an incredible outbreak of grassroots empowerment for democracy and justice. And if you look back over the course of history, that becomes unstoppable when it has a political voice. If it doesn't have a political voice, it will get written off. So it's when the two come together, this incredible uprising, this social movement which is happening, when it gets together with a political movement that can give it a voice and an agenda and organization, that's when you see breakthroughs with the labor movement, with women's suffrage, with the abolition of slavery. They all had powerful social movements, and they had political parties. So, you know, by hook or by crook, fight as we might, you know, if we're going to get out of here alive, we've got to build a unified political opposition. The Green Party is the place to make it happen. I urge you to go to gpfl.org, find out about the meeting tomorrow. Come to it if you haven't been involved before. If you have been involved before, all the more reason to come to it. This is the time for us to turn the breaking point that we're up against. A breaking point for the economy, our democracy, human rights, you name it, for the climate, for our food system. It is all up against the breaking point. It is beyond the breaking point. This is when we turn the breaking point into the tipping point. It won't happen without us. We're the ones who do it. And keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop working on Move to Amend or Monsanto or Palestinian human rights. Don't stop that for a minute, but we can build that better if we're also working together. There's a saying from sailing lore that goes back a couple centuries: one hand for the ship and one hand for yourself. Keep working on the issues you're working on, but the ship that we are all going to sink or sail on is that ship that brings us together. That's the Green Party. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for that wonderful talk, Betty Jo. And thank you, Jennifer. And come tomorrow
night at St. Pete.
And I'm sorry?
St. Pete, the St. Pete Museum of History.
Oh, yes.
Tomorrow night.
Jill will be there speaking, and she'll actually be the
That's
guest speaker.
presented by the St. Pete Green Party.
Yes, St. Pete Green Party, yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great.
So
So
this was
come.
Tampa,
This is a
will be St.
beginning.
Pete.
This is a beginning if we make it so. And we can take it wherever we want. Thank you.
Okay, so Friedman, when does Tampa meet here?
Tampa meets every second Wednesday at 7. And we keep it mostly short, 1 hour.
7 o'clock, 1 hour. They take care, you can get it done in 1 hour. And to the point. So anyway, 7 o'clock, the second Wednesday.
So what's
Yes, yeah. Check on
7 to 8.
greenpartytampa.org.
Yeah, we have a very simple name for our website. Green Party Florida.
Right.
Green Party Tampa.
Okay, well, we're going to get started with the film.